All right, so you're thinking about getting married, huh? What's a big decision? And we're here to help you figure out if it's the right one for you.
That's right. We're going to take a deep dive into the world of marriage, exploring both the good and the bad, to give you a clear picture of what you're potentially signing up for.
Exactly. No sugarcoating here. We're going to lay it all out on the table. Yeah. So let's start with the good stuff. Why do people get married anyway?
Well, a lot of it comes down to that basic human need for connection. Having a partner, someone who's always there for you through thick and thin. It's pretty powerful.
Like having a built-in best friend and confidant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that kind of support can do wonders for your well-being. Studies actually show that married people tend to be healthier overall.
Maybe it's because they have someone nagging them to eat their vegetables.
Could be.
Yeah.
But it's probably more about that reduced stress level. When you have someone you can rely on, that takes a lot of pressure off.
True. And speaking of sharing the load, marriage can also bring some financial stability.
Right. Absolutely. Pooling resources, working towards shared goals. It can definitely ease the burden and open up new opportunities.
Plus, two heads are better than one when it comes to making those big life decisions.
For sure. And let's not forget the practical benefits, like having someone to split those never-ending household chores with.
Oh yeah, teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Totally. But beyond those practicalities, marriage can also be a real catalyst for personal growth.
Oh, interesting.
How so? Well, when you're constantly interacting with someone who has a different perspective, a different way of looking at the world, it challenges you to grow, to become more understanding, more patient, more adaptable.
So it's not just about finding someone who makes you happy. It's about finding someone who helps you become a better version of yourself.
Exactly. And that kind of growth can be incredibly rewarding. Plus, there's that sense of belonging that comes with being part of a team, part of something bigger than yourself.
Like having a built-in support system.
Yeah.
A foundation for building your life together.
Right. But let's be real. No relationship is perfect. And marriage definitely comes with its fair share of challenges.
Yeah. Let's not sugarcoat things. So what are some of the downsides that people should be aware of?
Well, one of the biggest fears people have is losing their independence. That sense of individuality.
Yeah, it's a real fear for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That idea of merging your life with someone else's and maybe losing a bit of yourself in the process.
Like going from solo artist to part of a band,
Exactly. And it's a constant balancing act, trying to figure out where me ends and we begins.
Right. And finding that sweet spot where you're both happy and fulfilled. But even when you're both on the same page about, wanting to be a we, there's still bound to be some bumps in the road.
Oh, for sure. Disagreements are inevitable in any relationship, and marriage is no exception.
So what are some of the biggest conflict zones for couples?
Well, money is a big one. It often taps into our deepest values, our sense of security, our hopes for the future.
I can see how that could get tricky. Oh, yeah. When couples have different approaches to spending, saving, or even just thinking about money, it can create a lot of friction.
Like if one person is all about budgeting and saving for the future, and the other is more spontaneous, living in the moment.
Exactly. And it's not just about the different habits, it's about what those habits represent. Maybe one person sees saving as a sign of responsibility, and the other sees it as a form of deprivation.
So it's like money is speaking a different language for each person?
Yeah, kind of. And that's why open and honest communication about finances is so important. Like before you even get married, you need to talk about your financial goals, your debts, your spending habits, the whole 9 yards.
No more financial secrets, huh?
Pretty much. And it's not about judging each other's past mistakes. It's about creating a shared vision for your financial future.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. But even with the best communication and the most solid financial plan, there's another potential challenge that can pop up: compromise. That whole happy wife, happy life thing.
But it's not just about keeping one person happy, right? It's about finding a balance that works for both of you.
Absolutely. Marriage is a partnership. And that means being willing to give and take. Sometimes you have to put your partner's needs before your own. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices.
So how do you know if you're giving too much or not enough? How do you find that sweet spot?
Well, it starts with self-awareness. Before you even consider marriage, you need to know what you're willing to compromise on and what your non-negotiables are.
So no more sweeping those deal breakers under the rug.
Right. And once you know your own limits, you need to communicate them clearly to your partner.
So before you say, I do, you need to have a serious conversation about what we really means for both of you.
Exactly. But even with all the communication and compromise in the world, there's still the risk of things getting a little too routine.
The dreaded monotony trap.
Yeah, exactly. When that initial spark starts to fade and you're left with the day-to-day grind, it can be tough to keep things exciting.
So how do you avoid becoming that couple that sits in silence across the dinner table, staring at their phones?
Well, it takes effort. You have to make time for each other, even when life gets busy. Try new things together. Share experiences. Rekindle that sense of adventure.
So date nights aren't just for the honeymoon phase.
Definitely not. They're even more important when you're juggling work, kids, all the responsibilities of adult life.
It's about remembering why you fell in love in the first place.
Yeah.
And nurturing that connection. So we've talked about the emotional side of marriage and some of the practical challenges, but there's a whole other layer we need to consider. The legal stuff.
Right. Marriage isn't just a romantic partnership. It's a legal contract. And that comes with some serious implications.
Okay, so let's break it down. What are the key legal aspects of marriage that we need to understand?
Well, for starters, it creates a legal framework for things like shared property inheritance, even decision-making in medical emergencies.
So it's not just about love and commitment. It's about signing on the dotted line.
Mm-hmm.
And having those signatures mean something in the eyes of the law.
Exactly. And those legal ties can impact everything, from how you file your taxes to who has the authority to make medical decisions if one of you becomes incapacitated.
Wow, that's a lot to think about. And speaking of serious matters, we've already touched on finances. But what are the specific financial implications of getting married?
Well, merging finances can be a big step. Suddenly you're dealing with joint accounts, shared debts, and even the potential impact of each other's credit scores.
So full transparency is key.
Absolutely. You need to have those money talks before you tie the knot.
No more hiding those secret credit card bills.
Nope. It's all about being open and honest with each other.
So premarital financial counseling might not be a bad idea.
It can definitely be helpful. It's like laying all your cards on the table and saying, okay, let's build this financial future together.
Right, building that foundation of trust and transparency.
Exactly. But even with the best financial plan and a solid understanding of the legal landscape, there's one wild card that can throw a wrench into things. Family.
The in-laws?
They can be a wonderful addition to your life. But let's face it, navigating those relationships can be tricky.
It's like merging two different worlds, each with its own set of rules and traditions.
And those differences can lead to conflict, especially around things like holidays, family gatherings, even just how often you see each other.
So how do you create a harmonious blended family dynamic without driving each other crazy?
Communication is key, both with your partner and with your families. You need to set boundaries, respect each other's traditions, and find ways to compromise.
So it's about finding that balance between honoring your family history and creating a new family unit that works for everyone.
Exactly, and it takes patience and understanding.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored the emotional, practical, and even legal aspects of marriage. So what's the final takeaway for our listeners who are still trying to decide if marriage is right for them?
Marriage is a complex journey. It has the potential to bring immense joy and fulfillment, but it also requires effort and a willingness to navigate challenges.
It's like we've given you a map, but you still have to choose your own path.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to marriage. It all depends on your individual needs,
Right.
your values, and the dynamic you share with your partner.
So trust your instincts. Weigh the pros and cons. Have those honest conversations. And ultimately, choose the path that feels right for you.
And remember, even with all the information in the world, love and relationships will always have an element of mystery. So embrace the unknown, stay curious, and never stop learning and growing.
Well said. Thanks for joining us in this deep dive into the world of marriage. We'll see you next time.